Coming up on Cruise In, presented by RK Motors Charlotte. Proof that everybody, even automakers, have to start somewhere.
The company started off making bird cages.
If it looks like a Stutz, it must be a Stutz.
Technically correct, this is Harry's other car.
And trailer queens, beware.
If you see this car in Indiana or New York, it's gotten there under its own power.
And if we get some stone chips on them, that's okay too.
Plus,
you know, you can tell nothing has been, bolts hadn't been broken loose, this, that, the other.
the Hemi, the real deal in the restoration of the last Hemi. You want rare? We have rare.
They built 77 of these in the year, and there's 17 of them left.
Cruise In, presented by RK Motors Charlotte, starts right now. Hi everybody, welcome to Cruise In, presented by RK Motors Charlotte. I'm Jeff Phelps, and we have come to a goodie. It is the 55th annual Father's Day Car Show at Stan Hywet Hall and Gardens. 55 years, 55. That makes this one of the longest running car shows in the entire United States of America. And with 55 years, as you might expect, you get a great turnout of older cars. For instance, cars from the 20s and 30s. Lee, you drove in, immediately caught everybody's eye. Exactly what do you have?
Well, I've got a 1938 Packard Super 8 convertible sedan, and I obtained it about 4 years ago from a friend of mine who I've been in the hobby with for a long time and toured with him. And I first saw this car in 1997 at in the Rocky Mountain Tour. We went through the national parks out west.
What is it about this car, Lee, that intrigued you so much? Obviously, it's such an eye-catcher. That's got to be a big part of it, but there's more to it than that, I'm sure.
Well, the history of Packard really intrigued me to this car. This Packard is a well-known name since the late 1800s, early 1900s, and up through the war, the Second World War, it was #1 on the charts. I mean, in my estimation, nothing was better than a Packard, and this is a Super 8 Packard, which is a straight 8 engine, very, very powerful, goes down the road at about 70 miles an hour, and it's a convertible sedan, so when the weather is nice, we put the top down and off we go. So when the weather is nice, we have the top down, and when the weather is inclement, such as it was earlier today, we're closed up with the windows rolled up. And if it gets cool, we do have a heater, of course no air conditioner, but we open all the windows up, and we're just fine in there. We just love it.
Lee, a lot of people wouldn't put a car like this on the road.
Well,
Why do you?
Well, that's what they're for. They're made to go on the roads, and I think shows are fine, and we do enjoy shows, but we like to drive our cars. And if we get some stone chips on them, that's okay too. But they're made to be driven, and we enjoy the hobby, and we go all over the world with these cars, not necessarily this one, but with cars of the vintage. And we just enjoy it, you know. And it's a family thing. Our boys and our daughter, who are in their 40s now, grew up in the hobby right here at Stan Hywet. I think we brought our youngest son to the first Stan Hywet when he was like 3 years old, and it brings back memories. It was the thing to do on Father's Day.
It's a beautiful car.
Thank you.
Mike, we love American cars that aren't around anymore, like the Auburn. Beautiful example.
We have here a 1932 Auburn 8100A. It's the deluxe model, straight 8. It has a 2-speed Columbia rear axle. It has mechanical brakes. Tool down the road comfortably at 60 miles an hour. We keep it on the blue roads. My wife and I tour extensively with this car. We do not own a car hauler, so if you see this car in Indiana or New York, it's gotten there under its own power.
You drove it there.
We drove it there. That's our main enjoyment in the hobby. We've had this car since 1997. It's been to all but one ACD reunions in Auburn since then, and we just get a heck of a kick out of it. Love showing it, love having people ask us questions, and have a real good time with it.
Well, when you hear Auburn, Cord, Duesenberg, the whole family of the cars produced in Indiana, I think of amazing things, because if you don't know these cars and you learn a little bit about them, the Auburn's a beautiful car and seemed to be way ahead of its time, Mike.
They were. The 2-speed axle, they actually had hydraulic brakes a year earlier than this, but the Depression kind of ate into their resources a little bit, and they did cheapen the cars a little bit for 32, 33. But a lot of, this car has adjustable suspension. You can adjust the suspension from inside the car. It has a StartX automatic restart system that a lot of the big cars like the Packards and the Pierces have. It also has an automatic chassis lubrication system that lubes the chassis going down the road. So for the time, you got a lot of car for the money with an Auburn.
As you said, at one time you thought well, at one time it was show-worthy, and now, personally, I still think it's show-worthy. You don't because you drive it so much.
We bought the car to drive. It was borderline too nice to drive when we bought it, but that's what we bought it for. And it's a lot easier to sell a wife on an old car when it's pretty than it is when it's needy.
That's well said. And now that she's in it all the time.
She loves it too. She loves it too. I've thought different times of perhaps selling it and doing something different. She won't have any of that.
What's your favorite aspect of this car, Mike?
I like the straight 8 engine, and I love the wire wheels. It's unusual to have knockoff wire wheels on something other than a race car from this period. Those come off with the lead hammer, just like they would on a Triumph or an MG or something like that. The sound that the straight 8 makes is unlike a lot of other engines. So.
And you plan to do what with it?
We plan to keep it.
And drive it like crazy.
Drive the wheels off it, literally.
And as you told me, as you look at the tires, you know that's true.
You know that's true. It needs a set right now. It'll be getting a set before it goes any distance.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
It was produced in Indiana, but get this.
I found this car in New Zealand.
In New Zealand.
In New Zealand, exactly.
It's next, mate, on Cruise In, presented by RK Motors Charlotte.
Sally, Tina, Betsy, you've developed quite a bond with your classic car. Let the consignment professionals at RK Motors Charlotte make the selling process as painless as possible. Through precision marketing and large customer base, we all but guarantee a sale at maximum value, and we don't get paid until your car sells. We've sold over 1,500 classic cars here at RK Motors Charlotte, and now we'd like to get to know Betsy, at least for a little while. Visit rkmotorscharlotte.com.
Now back to Cruise In, presented by RK Motors Charlotte. Marty in Alberta, I don't know what I like more, the period car or the period clothing. You did a nice job with both. Pierce Arrow, and you don't see Pierce Arrows every day of the week. How long have you had it, Marty?
About 21 years.
And you found it where?
It's a Cleveland car. It was belonged to a doctor from the Cleveland Clinic.
I think it has a lot of appeal. All of our nieces have gotten married in this car.
No kidding.
It's a beautiful car.
That's awesome. And so you're busy playing chauffeur on wedding day.
I am, and I enjoy it.
What is it about the Pierce Arrow? Because it's a famous name in automotive history. What is it about the Pierce Arrow that made it such a distinct car, Marty?
I think actually the headlights coming up out of the fenders the way they did is the trademark for the car, and they kept that design for quite a while through the years. And as a matter of fact, right till they closed.
What have you done to this car since you've had it?
Everything. Yeah, everything. Yeah, it's of course been painted, and just keep updating things that we're missing on it from year to year. Yeah.
Favorite features about the car, Marty?
Well, I just like the look actually, and it drives very well. It's not a real speedster, you know, but the roads weren't that great back then. But it's a durable car, and it's a good running car.
Alberta, you can get lost in the back seat of this car.
Oh,
it's absolutely huge.
It's wonderful, and you know I love the hood ornament on it.
It almost looks as if it has a limousine kind of look to it because of all that room in the back seat, Marty.
This is actually not one of their larger ones. The years prior to this and after this were actually larger than this.
Well, what have you learned more about the company since you've owned this?
They started off, somebody just told me yesterday that the company started off making bird cages. It was a metal company, basically.
I see the transition, bird cage to automobiles. Marty, you mentioned the steel on this car and the aluminum and the copper. Can you explain that?
The body is basically made of aluminum, the doors and so on. The cowl coming out, going toward the engine is copper coated. And the steel on the car consists of the front and rear fenders and the splash pan behind the running board. But everything else is aluminum, which that part of it in Cleveland held up very well.
That's interesting. And I love the gas gauge.
Yes. That has it shows you can switch it over and it switches to a reserve tank. And you've got about 1.5 gallons of gas. Won't take you too far in this car, but it'll get
Might
you
get
out
you to
of
a gas station.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the car is beautiful, but the clothes finish it all off. Very, very nicely done.
It's a pleasure to wear them too, believe me.
Mike, you drove in and I said, hey, look, it's a Stutz. And I was wrong, technically, correct?
Correct.
Tell me what is technically correct.
Technically correct. This is Harry's other car. Harry Stutz started obviously the Stutz Bearcat that he's well known for, but he started another company in 1920 called HCS, which was the initials for Harry Clayton Stutz. And this car was the early production model, serial number 208, that was off the assembly line in Indianapolis, Indiana, and it ran for 4 years until its demise in 1924.
Now, as if that story is not good enough, the story of this car specifically is amazing. You found it where?
I found this car in New Zealand.
In New Zealand?
In New Zealand, exactly. I was touring on the South Island of New Zealand back in 1997, and had stopped at a small shop that had antique brass and everything, and in behind there was a consignment storage for antique cars. And this car was sitting there. And the car originally was restored by a fellow by the name of Arthur Evans in New Zealand. It took him 10 years to restore it from 1970 to 1980. And I bought the car exactly as you see it. The car was exported to New Zealand in 1921. And
so
it
basically
was
brand new?
Brand new, yes. And it was 7 that were sent from Indianapolis to New Zealand. And in order to officially have it sanctioned in New Zealand, it had to have New Zealand content. So they sent it to a representative of the company, of the HCS company on the South Island at Runnymede Motors. And at that time, they did a modification to the windshield and to the rumble seat. In fact, if you look at the rumble seat, you'll find that you get in and out the opposite direction because it is a right-hand, left-hand drive, where in England, or sorry, in New Zealand, it's a right-hand, just similar to England. So this car was, in fact, exported there.
When you picked up the car in New Zealand, it looked like this?
Yes.
Except for?
Except for the decaling. The decaling, we decided last year at the 100th anniversary of Stutz, I took a look at some of the photos at the Indianapolis Speedway and found that Harry Stutz and Barney Oldfield had driven a car similar to this in the 1921 Indy race. Unfortunately, we don't know what happened to that prototype 6-cylinder, but this was still his company, and it is the earliest known production model. So we decided to decal it exactly as it was on the track back in 1921. And it's been a great adventure for us, and we have had this car actually back at the track last year.
Mike, you're in New Zealand and you see this thing. What went through your mind?
I thought it was a Model A. When I first looked at the car and couldn't believe that it had said 1920. I, like yourself, had never seen an HCS. All I had heard of was the Stutz Bearcat from a kid growing up watching it on TV. And I saw this and I said, this cannot be a 1920 car. It looks too modern. And as I did my research on it at the time and started saying, I decided that I'd like to have the car. It drives well, it tours well, and it's powerful. I might point out too that it is a 50 horsepower 4-cylinder Widely engine, which the only difference to that prototype was just the 2-cylinder difference. So yes, it's a great car.
Coming up next,
We've got Mopar spark plugs. We've got Mopar oil filter.
Would you expect anything less in the restoration of the last Hemi? It's next on Cruise In, presented by RK Motors Charlotte.
Handling classic and high-performance vehicles requires an industry-leading team of experts. Welcome to RK Motors Charlotte. Industry-leading means meticulous attention to detail when servicing every vehicle. It means a consignment service so fine-tuned that a successful sale at maximum value is all but guaranteed. And a rigorous inspection on every vehicle before its tires even touch our sales floor. It's all this and more that make RK Motors Charlotte the industry leader. Visit rkmotorscharlotte.com.
From start to finish, it's the restoration of the last Hemi. Mike, the whole point of the last Hemi is the Hemi. There it is.
Yeah, there it is. So far, we've gotten it out. We've started to clean pretty much all the grime and gunk off of it. Even though we knew the car was authentic and it really had never been molested and touched, you know, going over it, cleaning everything kind of delicately so we can check numbers, make sure everything's there. You know, verified the VIN, verified date codes on parts. Kind of just seeing that, yes, it was together as an assembly the way it was painted. You know, you could tell nothing has been, bolts hadn't been broken loose, this, that, the other. Couple little things that were changed, you know, one of the plug wires, which if I'm not mistaken, the owner, Joe, had done to get it running when he found the car. You know, cleaning everything up, just really going, we found date codes where they should be, everything just really looking good.
So exactly what you were hoping to find, you found.
Yes, unmolested, very good, perfect piece of history. Carburetors have been sent out. They will be completely rebuilt, refinished with the correct platings, the correct colors, everything will be good. The tags were still present. You know, we started little nuts, bolts, same thing, getting the correct plating for it. We're looking for, you know, exact color to be sent out for plating for this. The phosphates, what are supposed to be natural, going through the books, checking on them. We have sourced and found NOS valve covers. We could have restored these. There's nothing seriously wrong with them except a lot of their wrinkle finish has corroded off. So it would have been a pretty simple restore, but hey, if we can find NOS, it's the way to go. We've even found an NOS breather, alternator being completely redone, distributors being completely redone.
Michael, what do you do with the transmission?
Well, again, we've started with degreasing and just getting all the years of built-up gunk off of it, making sure the casting looks good. We'll probably go through it. We have sourced out, we found an NOS pan. Again, any little linkages, lines, tubes will be, you know, correctly plated, correctly finished the way that they were from the factory. You know, it's gonna be kind of a mild go through. Factory specs, nothing real special. We'll get it off of here real soon. The very last thing that will go on will be that tranny pan because we don't want to scratch a mar or anything in that nice, it's only fresh, unpainted steel one time. So, you know, we'll put that NOS pan on it, very last thing, and she'll be good to go. It's very clean, no real big blemishes. We checked all the numbers, the casings, and again, verified its authenticity, and it's all correct. We've got Mopar spark plugs. We've got Mopar oil filter. I mean, it's coming along and getting to the point of where once we're clean, once everything's all good, we'll be able to start painting, restoring, and putting all the nice NOS new stuff back on. She's coming along real nice.
For more on the restoration of the last Hemi, visit our website at thelasthemi.com.
When it comes to restoring or servicing your classic or high-performance car, expertise is the name of the game. And that's precisely what you'll find at RK Motors. You'll find our expertise in the attention to detail that can only be acquired through years of working on world-class builds. You'll also find our expertise in the RKM Performance Center, where we've assembled a team of highly qualified ASE certified mechanics. When expertise is the name of the game, trust the experts at RK Motors. Visit rkmotorscharlotte.com.
Now back to the Father's Day car show at Stan Hywet on Cruise In, presented by RK Motors Charlotte. Craig, it's a beautiful Lincoln.
Thank you.
It's a 1931, and it wasn't originally yours.
No, it was not.
It was?
My father's.
Very nice.
My father bought the car at auction down in North Carolina, and he owned it for about 10 years, I think, something like that.
And now it's Father's Day.
It's Father's Day.
And the car's out.
We bring it out to show on Father's Day, so we want to bring the car out and show it in honor of him.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice thing. You know, it's a way to honor your dad, remember him, and have a great day with something that he absolutely loved.
He loved his old cars. He did. He has a total of 5 of them, and this was his favorite. And it's a beautiful car. Runs great, beautiful car.
Did he pass on the love of this car to you, or do you just kind of like it and think of your dad when you're in it?
I don't have the tie to the car that he did. It was his era, but I love the car, and I love his. All his cars are beautiful, so they're a lot of fun. We intend to keep them and keep them going and show them every chance we get.
Craig, what is it about this Lincoln that's so special to you, other than the tie to your dad?
Well, I love the lines of the car and the uniqueness of the car. They built 77 of these in the year, and there's 17 of them left. So it's an extremely unique automobile, and believe it or not, it's a pretty good car to drive.
Really?
Yep. You know, it's a little tough to steer and stuff, but it runs great, tracks great down the road, and it's a fun car to drive.
Have you guys seen another one?
No.
I wouldn't imagine
No,
so.
we
There are
have
only
not.
17 of them floating around.
And I don't know where they're at, so we have not seen another one.
You know, the Lincolns of this era are just such a grand car. You know, and everybody looks and everybody's impressed. And I'm sure you have sensed that in owning this car, and when your dad owned it as well.
Yes, absolutely. It draws attention wherever we take it. People love to just look at it, talk about it, get their picture taken with it. Very unique car, and it does draw a lot of attention.
Along with getting it out on the road and driving it and the way it runs, your favorite features about this car?
The lines of the car, just the size of the car and the lines, and the way the back with the dual cowl, it's just the uniqueness of it.
It is interesting between the front and the back seat. Usually it's wide open.
Right.
It's not wide
It's
open.
not wide open. You open the back door and drop that deck down, and then you get in and lift the deck back up and close the door. That's how you get your folks in the back.
That's a process.
It's a process, yes.
What a fun process.
What a fun process, that's right.
Well, happy Father's Day.
Thank you
and
very
I'm sure
much.
you're thinking great thoughts about your dad with his car today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
It's always one of my favorites, no question about it, and one of the best car shows in the Midwest, the annual Father's Day Car Show at Stan Hywet Hall and Gardens. I'm Jeff Phelps. We'll see you next time on Cruise In, presented by RK Motors Charlotte.